Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my presentation. My name is Donnie, and I'm currently the Director of Product and Marketing at Nexusguard. We are a company that provides managed cybersecurity services to customers both in the enterprise space as well as the telcos from all over the world. Today's presentation is titled Monetizing Cybersecurity Services in Telco 4.0 Transformation. And as the name implies, we will be looking at what role and how a telco will be navigating the highly competitive waters of the telco industry today. Now, Telco 4.0 transformation is a term that I have been hearing a lot about and have myself been using for the past few years. While I think there isn't really a formal definition around Telco 4.0, I believe it is a subset of the fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR, or Industry 4.0 for short. The concept of Industry 4.0 first originated as early as 2011 by the Germans, and it marked the beginning of an era of computerization of manufacturing and other processes. More recently, Industry 4.0 is characterized by the information-intensive transformation of manufacturing and other industries in a connected environment of cloud, cybersecurity, big data, autonomous system, IoT-enabled industrial assets, and much, much more. In essence, what makes Industry 4.0 possible are the technologies that leverage and make use of large amount of data to gain efficiencies on multiple levels and to transform existing manufacturing processes and business processes and create end-to-end information streams across the entire value chain to realize new service and new business models. And such technological advancement is why telcos currently sit at the center of Industry 4.0. Many of the advancements that we see have been made directly because of telecoms research to continually improve communication with higher, faster speed and greater connectivity. New technologies like 5G, cloud services, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things are helping companies collect large amount of data and send it across the world for processing and for business purposes. So while one would think that since telco is right smack in the middle of the revolution, they should be in a great position to benefit, well, the reality is, in today's highly competitive landscape, telcos can no longer differentiate themselves based solely on the infrastructure and operations because little separates them from each other. 5G is 5G, 100G is 100G. Further undercutting the traditional telco business model have been the rise of the over-to-the-top communications apps like WhatsApp, SMS, VoIP services, etc. In addition to connected TV and content apps. In particular, services like Facebook and Google, and other social media apps have taken up a lion's share of the communications market. Customers don't rely on telcos as much as they used to for their peer-to-peer interactions. For example, in what you see here, we see that WhatsApp and other social media has taken over as the main means of communicating between people. And as the other digital players expand to infrastructure, so think of Google Fiber, for example, telcos are right to be worried. Their revenue and their market is being encroached on. Furthermore, this rising bandwidth requirement and the growth of the Internet of Things means that telcos need to make near constant upgrades to the infrastructure to keep up, even as infrastructure becomes less critical or less related to profitability. For example, it's hard to imagine a telco being able to survive for very long if it doesn't take concrete steps to upgrade their infrastructure or to build 5G network, for example. But that doesn't mean that doing so will have a direct and immediate effect on their revenue and their profitability. Telcos today need to continuously invest in next generation infrastructure just for the sake of survival and to stay relevant. And at the same time, they are faced with the commoditization of the offerings in the sector, declining per meg, declining cost of service, so on and so forth. So that finally brings me to Telco 4.0. To me, Telco 4.0 is not just about enabling digital transformation from an infrastructure perspective, but also for a telco to embrace digital transformation, to think of how as a telco, they can leverage their data assets, their cloud, existing AI technologies and the existing strategic partnerships to create new revenue streams for the telcos. Telco 4.0 is about how a telco can embrace new, additional, and sometimes even unconventional revenue streams so that they can remain relevant, profitable, and competitive. And this is why at Nexusguard, we have been singularly focused on for the past few years, helping and enabling telcos and service provider make sure that they don't miss out on this revolution, okay, specifically in the realm of offering managed cybersecurity services. In our conversations with hundreds of CSPs over the years, okay, telcos including, there has always been two themes that have been prevalent. How does telcos protect their revenue, or how to achieve revenue growth in times of commoditization of services, which can also be understood as or translated to how to improve customer retention rates to prevent customers from leaking over to other service since are all commoditized service, and how to capture new markets in new customer segments. And of all the various strategies that the CSPs have communicated, or rather we discussed, one of them will always be about how to create new services, okay, and how to generate streams of revenue through new services that is different from what they have been accustomed to offer traditionally, so as to improve their competitiveness and to differentiate themselves from the competitors. While this has been proven to be a common knowledge, a common strategy, a must-do strategy across CSPs, it is in fact not happening, at least not at the speed or drive we thought would be warranted of such existential issue, okay, when telcos are right smack in the middle of the 4.0 revolution. In fact, most of such product creation and drives and launches fail. And most of that fail during the conceptualization, and some fail right out of the gate. We know why. The ISP, the telcos, they some know why, and industry analysts know why. The reason is most often than not, it is simply too complex, too time consuming, and too resource intensive for an ISP or a telco to create a service that will never directly attain revenue anywhere close to its core service. In order to better understand why and what are the specific costs of this strategy, let us go over what we have classified as the three major costs to create a service, or the three barriers for a telco to enter such services. They are, number one, the cost of technology, number two, the cost of infrastructure, and number three, the cost of productization and ongoing support. The first cost, or the first barrier to entry to the managed security services space, is the cost of technology. Service providers venturing into this space typically begin as a result of a requirement to protect its own network as part of its business continuity considerations, or as an initiative by the network team to ensure the network's resiliency to cyber attacks. Depending on the size of the network and the amount of traffic or IP space it serves, a telco makes sizable investment just to attain visibility on what's going through the network. It could be in the form of a traffic analysis appliance or deep packet inspection appliance. But products in these categories only allows a telco to have better understanding of the risk their network is being subjected to. Following that, the network team could decide to arm one or more of their data centers with scrubbing capabilities. And that's where it can start to be expensive. Scrubbing equipments today are priced according to their throughput power. The larger the network, the higher the number of distribution of its internet gateways, the more devices the provider has to buy. And with the current DDoS attack breaching terabit level, telcos are faced with the difficult task of weighing cost versus scrubbing capacity. Too small a device would mean potentially failing to mitigate the larger attack that usually matters. On the other hand, large scrubbing capacities in the hundreds gigs, when multiplied by more than one data center, could easily cost a telco several millions of dollars over the life expectations of the appliance. And then they have to repeat this process every couple of years when appliance goes end of service or is discontinued. And that's just the beginning, because no single piece of technology will be able to do everything. In fact, what happens after purchasing this first appliance, service provider will realize that its venture into cybersecurity space has now taken it down a slippery slope, and telcos find themselves looking at having to acquire load balancers, threat intelligence, web application firewalls, and other appliances. And then they have to put all these technologies into a consumable service. They have to create an orchestration, and then they have to create a service fabric to integrate all of these services into one single platform for the customers. While the upfront cost of technology is already very significant, in truth, it only solves part of the security problem. The robustness of a service provider's network is only as strong as its weakest link. Having multi-hundred gigabit strong appliance, but only sub-100 gigs of bandwidth will mean the service provider will easily fall under moderate DDoS attacks. That said, reserving large amounts of bandwidth just in preparation for a large attack is against a telco's DNA. Each bit of bandwidth of the telco is reserved as revenue, or rather it's used to generate revenue. Even though the overall cost of bandwidth are getting lower, attacks are now getting larger and longer, and they are still continuing to grow. We have seen many attacks campaigns lasting up to months at stretch, and this represents a real cost to the provider. Imagine we put the cost per meg at 30 cents. The cost to an ISP would be, for example, in the event of a 300 gig attacks that is sustained, will almost cost an ISP upwards of $100,000 just per month. We've covered the technology costs and ongoing bandwidth costs, both very obvious CAPEX and OPEX costs. But one huge understated cost is the third cost that we will be talking about. And this is the cost to productize, to deliver, and to support a service that the customer will be willing to pay for. The reality is, to deliver a well thought out, effective service requires plenty of resources and a great team. And because security as a service is typically not organic to a telco, subject matter experts have been hired to design and build the service offering, preferably someone that understands the product and understands what the customer needs, and to be able to navigate the different departments within a telco to create a product. To support a new service, specialized teams like the security operation team has to be built and maintained. That's at least one skilled SOC manager to manage the team and a team of 24/7 SOC analysts. That means training and enablement, staffing, replacement, and all the challenges that comes with building an operational team. Then the next step is the go-to-market activities, pre-sales and sales team enablement and training, marketing activities such as collateral creations, thought leadership content, generate awareness, customer education, and so on. And all are just part and parcel of any successful product launch. As you can see, all these activities are the unglamorous parts and bits that are often overlooked and glossed over during budgeting, but are real serious inhibitors of success and needs to be addressed early and are significant costs and challenges to any telco trying to enter this space. It is at this juncture that I would like to present you an offering that is uniquely Nexusguard. It is unique because we have taken a service-based approach to address the problems that existing solution providers and telcos are solving via traditional appliance approaches. Being a service company, rather than an appliance manufacturer, Nexusguard understands what it takes to build, deliver, and ultimately how to support an enterprise-class offering. On the technology front, we have taken all that we have learned from both the market and our customers in our more than 10 years of fighting DDoS. We have developed a purpose-built managed security platform that is designed to address all that is to do with DDoS and related cybersecurity issues. Instead of custom manufacturing hardware, we have chosen to work instead with producers like Dell to provide the bare metal structures for which to run our platform from. This allows our development and deployment to be nimble and to be extremely cost competitive. and not to mention widely available because our customers might be anywhere just as long as Dell is able to reach them. It is a one box for every type of attack threatening the availability of one's network or applications that you can actually think of. This single deployment provides layer 3, 4, and application layer DDoS detection and mitigation, web application firewall capabilities, CDN services, DNS services, and much, much more. On top of this, we have also built a multi-tenanted customer management system that allows a service provider to create individualized services for each of their customers, complete with customer dashboard, alerts, notification, automated reporting, and much more. Going deeper into the services the platform enables, our telco customers will find that they suddenly have a myriad of services available on hand that they can immediately start offering to their customers. On the network layer perspective, the platform enables the telco to extend their current service offerings to include attack detection and mitigation, not just for their on-net customers, but also for prospective customers that have yet to come on board the telco's network. These are services that includes security monitoring services from a remote perspective, clean pipe services for their connectivity services, or BGP activated protection for third-party IP transit services. The aspiring telcos can also go into application layer services and provide CDN services, web application firewall services, application layer DDoS protection services, and much, much more. Here, I'd like to stress that services like the clean pipe offering is organic to a telco sales team and has very low barriers of entry. And it is very easy for the telco sales team to pick up. From there, once the team is familiar with cybersecurity industry, the whole suite of security services to be upsold will be right in front of them. Again, we've already planned and mapped up the upsell journey for the telco sales team. A telco customer first usually begins with a basic clean pipe services that is added on to whatever connectivity product that they are purchasing from their telco, be it a direct internet access or IP transit service. And with the more sophisticated customers, which requires enterprise grade services, they might elect the premium clean pipe services, which provides much more granular security policies and of course a higher SLA. And if the customer subscribe or is subscribing to multiple upstream ISP services, there might be a possibility that not all of those providers actually provide DDoS protection for their connectivity. In such scenarios, this telco can now provide global offload options with much more granular, or rather, they can now provide global offload options to protect those other upstream pipes. So up to this stage, we've been talking about network services. Once the network side of things are secured, typical enterprise will go on to consider the application security as well as other enabling services. This is where the telco now has an option to bring in DNS protection, website protection, application firewall services to close off any remaining unprotected exposure to the internet. The entire roadmap to total security can be all delivered under a single pane glass for a one-stop experience for the customer. What this means for the product team and for the telco is that there is now a clear and immediate path for return on investment on the platform. Not just can the platform satisfy the network team's requirement to protect the network, the fully productized offering, readily available out of the box, can now be offered immediately to the CSP's customers and start generating additional revenue for the telco. And since we've built the technology as a service instead of a pure appliance, we've innovated on the business model as well. We have departed from the typical CapEx heavy model and adopted a scale as you use model. And when consumed as part of our partnership program, our telco customers can start the service with zero CapEx investment, providing them zero financial risk, and then they can actually scale their business and improve, and then they can actually see their business grow along with their cost. From an infrastructure perspective, the second perspective, our 2.4 terabits globally distributed scrubbing network is immediately made available to our telco customers. This truly hybrid deployment is different from typical hybrid offerings that you see in the market. Our scrubbing centers will operate concurrently with our telco customers' data center in an active deployment model, so that regardless of the sky size and the origin of the attack, the Nexusguard scrubbing center will work in tandem with the telco scrubbing center to provide the best mitigation experience without having to sacrifice performance in any way. Without saying, this means that the telcos no longer have to worry about allocating excessive bandwidth for the larger active attacks and leave that to the Nexusguard network instead, saving them plenty of budget in the long run. Last but not least, the third piece of the puzzle is our productization and support. Bundled as part of our solution is our whole 9 yards offering. It begins with sales and pre-sales enablement. Okay, our channel support team will provide the necessary training to convert your traditional telco sales force into the next-gen cybersecurity consultants. We will enable and support the service provider team to conduct complex proof of concepts and how to respond to requests for proposals and tender exercises and so much more. As part of our marketing support, our telco customers will get the full access to the extensive library of white papers and contents and collaterals where they are fully licensed to repurpose for their own go-to-market activities. From an operation perspective, we have structured and offer structured training and evaluation courses designed to turn NOC engineers into security operations center specialists that will be able to hold their ground against cyber attacks, okay, and to upgrade their skills consistently to be able to take on even the zero-day attacks. Or if our telco customers choose not to take on those operations themselves, they can also rely and turn to Nexusguard to provide managed services for their deployment. Simply put, the entire program is designed to allow our telco's customers to hit the ground running, to turn up services ASAP, and start onboarding customers and bringing in that revenue without having to wait for years. Support, processes, operational readiness, Nexusguard, we have got you covered. We believe that the Telco 4.0 have begun since years ago. The urgency has never been higher. Telcos need to understand that in order to stay relevant, stay strategic, this transformation is unavoidable. The difference is how a telco chooses to go along with that transformation. Will they decide to take things on themselves, fumble, and risk failure, or leave it to others that have done it, okay, for a surer chance of success with a proven model? End of the day, there is frankly no more time for telcos to try and to fail. And that wraps up my thoughts when it comes to how a telco should monetize cybersecurity as part of the Telco 4.0 transformation. My name is Donnie, and thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.